It was the first day back at work after the long winter holidays. The air outside was still sharp and chilly, but inside the small corporate training center in Cedar Hill, warmth and noise filled the room. A group of young professionals had gathered for what they thought would be another regular team workshop: notes, icebreakers, maybe a few awkward role plays. In the middle of the room stood Mr. Raymond Ellis, a well-respected business coach in his 50s. He had a reputation for transforming the way people thought, not with complicated theories, but with stories and experiences that stuck with you long after he had left the room. He looked calm, in his gray sweater and glasses, holding a stack of white folders. "Good morning, everyone," he began with a quiet smile. "Today we'll begin differently. No introductions, no assignments, just one simple activity." A murmur went through the group. Some looked relieved, others curious. No one had any idea what was coming. Mr. Ellis walked to the back wall where a projector screen was usually rolled down. Instead, he pulled it up and revealed a plain white wall. On it, about eye level, was a faint but visible brownish stain, a watermark from an old leak that had never been properly fixed. "Take a good look," he said, pointing to the wall. "Now, I'd like each of you to take a seat and write down what you see." Everyone stared at the wall, puzzled. "That's it?" someone asked from the back. "Yes," Raymond smiled. "Just write about what you see. Take 5 minutes." The group shifted awkwardly, but they obeyed. Some wrote quickly, others paused, clearly trying to make sense of this odd request. 5 minutes later, Raymond collected the papers. Then, slowly, he began reading them out loud. "There's a brown stain right in the middle of the wall. Looks like water damage." A stain. Someone should have painted over it. Ugly brown mark on an otherwise clean wall. Disgusting. Distracting. Looks like neglect. It ruins the whole wall. Every answer focused on the stain. Every single one. When he finished, the room was quiet again. Raymond let the silence linger for a moment. Then he spoke gently. "Interesting. All of you focused on the stain. Not one of you mentioned the rest of the wall. The stain is maybe 3 inches wide. The wall is over 10 feet across. Still, that's all you chose to see." People shifted in their chairs. Some began to see where this was going. He turned back to the wall. "This," he said, pointing at the stain, "is how most of us look at life. We zoom in on the flaw, on the mistake, the scar, the failure. We obsess over it, talk about it, write about it. Sometimes we even let it define us." He paused. "But what about the rest of the wall? The clean part? The space with no damage? We ignore it. Just like we ignore the parts of our lives that are working." One of the attendees, Kayla Morgan, sat in the front row. 32, sharp-minded, and always impeccably dressed. But today, her shoulders were slouched. Her notebook remained closed. There was something heavy in her expression. After the session, she approached Mr. Ellis. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. "Of course." They stepped aside. "I've never thought of it that way," she said. "I've spent the last 2 years doing exactly that, focusing on the stain." Raymond didn't interrupt. "My husband and we were trying to have a child. 3 miscarriages in a row. I left my job for a while. When I came back, nothing felt the same. Everyone moved ahead. I felt like I stayed behind." Her voice cracked, but she steadied it. "I began to see myself as broken, just the woman with the bad luck, with the grief, and I forgot that I was still creative, still loved, still standing." Raymond looked at her with kind eyes. "What would you write now, if I asked you to describe that wall again?" Kayla smiled faintly. "I'd probably say, it's a strong wall with a little scar, and maybe that scar makes it human." He nodded. "Exactly." That evening, when the workshop was over and most of the attendees had gone, a man named Joel came in with a mop and bucket. He was part of the cleaning crew. Joel had been quietly listening from the hallway during the wall exercise. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but something about it had struck a chord. He had lived the last 10 years with a deep burden. After a car accident that left his younger brother paralyzed, Joel had dropped out of college to care for him. Every dream he'd once had architecture, traveling faded into the background. He never complained, but inside, guilt ate at him. He was driving the night it happened. One small misjudgment, one black dot. It had become his whole life. That night, instead of mopping, Joel sat on one of the chairs. He stared at the wall. Then he took out his phone and typed a message to his brother. "I realized something today. I've been focusing on the stain for too long, but there's still a lot of white space in me. Maybe we can paint a little on it together." 2 weeks after the workshop, Raymond received an envelope in the mail. Inside were a dozen handwritten notes from attendees. One was from Tariq, who had almost quit his job because he felt invisible. After the session, he started a gratitude journal and found he actually had more good days than bad ones. One was from Nina, who realized she'd been punishing herself for her divorce, never allowing herself joy. She enrolled in a painting class and found she could laugh again. And one, unsigned, simply said, "The stain is still there, but I don't stare at it anymore. I've started noticing the sunlight." Months passed. Raymond continued his travels, giving workshops and lectures. But something about that one session in Cedar Hill stayed with him. At his next event, he tried something new. Instead of pointing to a real stain, he brought in a huge white canvas. In the center, he'd painted a single black dot. He told the same story, the same lesson. But this time, he added something more. "Each of us," he said, "will have stains, flaws, losses, mistakes, heartbreaks. Some we caused, some were caused to us. But if we fixate only on that, we miss the chance to build something beautiful." He picked up a paintbrush. "And if the stain won't go away," he smiled, "maybe we can turn it into art." Then he dipped the brush into blue paint and began painting petals around the black dot. It became the center of a flower. One by one, he invited the audience to add to the canvas. By the end of the session, the wall wasn't marked by a flaw. It had become a masterpiece. You see, we all carry a stain, a failure, a wound, a heartbreak, a regret. It sits there, dark and small, in the middle of our vast, beautiful canvas. Sometimes we stare at it so long, we forget how much clean space surrounds it. We forget the laughter of a friend, the comfort of home, the softness of sunrise, the potential of tomorrow. We forget that we are more than our pain, more than our scars, more than our darkest day. So if you must look at the stain, let it remind you of your strength. But don't stop there. Step back. Look at the whole wall and start painting something beautiful.